Okay, let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Live Great. My name's Mike, and today I have a really good friend of mine and business builder partner, Ava Schneider, who's with us on the podcast. Super excited to have you here, Ava.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
This is going to be awesome because I have, you and I, we had this conversation a few days ago, and it kind of resonated with me. And I think that some of the things you have to say and the things you shared with me will resonate with others. So I'm really excited to kind of jump into this. But so maybe let's just dive in. I mean, I think this is going to be great. So I'll tee this up a little bit just so that we give everybody a little context. You had someone that you knew had passed away. You were telling me about a conversation you had with a friend and how that led to some things and being real. And I would love for you to kind of just a recap of how that went, because I think this is something that we either struggle with or maybe we don't know how to have the conversations, but why is this important?
So this had just happened this past week, and I was all fired up because my next door neighbor, he's been with me for almost 18 years, and he dropped dead. He had a stent put in his heart, and I know that heart health is something that we talk about, but we're not talking about how we're processing our decisions. Like, he was a meat distributor. He was in the industry, the food industry, for 40 years. I had it convicted on my heart that if I had just been talking with him once a month about omegas and how important it is to move that meat, that cholesterol out of your body with omega-3s, really potent like EPAs and DHAs that really make a difference on how your body and your basically your heart processes omegas and how we process cholesterol. And it really got me. I was crying on the way home thinking I could have saved my neighbor's life, and I didn't make it a priority to really speak out about how much omegas would have saved his life. He was 61 years old.
Yeah, that's young, right? That's young.
Oh yeah. And then it led me to a conversation I was having with my college bestie. I'm on her patio and I'm telling her about my next door neighbor and how I need to be using my voice to speak out, even if people don't take the advice or it falls on deaf ears. The fact that I'm coming from a place of love, I'm coming from a place of education, and basically, I just turned 50 this year, and as I age, as I learn more, I need to. It's called to me to be a beacon of light to all my friends. So I'm on my best friend's patio, boo-hooing about my neighbor. And I said, I'm not even being real with you. And just sobbing. And she's like, what do you mean you're not being real with me? And I said, you have candles in your house, these big 3-wick candles, and you're burning these carcinogens, these toxins, these basically synthetic chemicals. You're burning that into your brain, into your nose, your lungs, every cell of your body, on your skin, and it's affecting your kids, it's affecting your dog, and I'm not telling you about it. I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to come from a place of trying to sell you something, but I've already given her diffusers, I've given her oils, and I needed to really break through and tell her what I really felt. And it just came out naturally that I feel like I've blocked my voice because I'm playing small. I'm trying to make people happy, or I'm stuck because I don't want to be offensive.
Yeah.
I was reading about I'm born on Valentine's Day, and I was reading about the people who are born on Valentine's Day are naturally very aggressive people. And I think they're aggressive in spaces of love, of wanting people to feel connected and loved. And when I feel like I speak my truth, maybe I offend people.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at 50 years old, I need to really start speaking out and shattering this idea that everybody's fine and they're going to find their own wisdom. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. and basically like Mike, like shake them up, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
be intentional about how much we need probiotics, how much we need, menopause support. Everything changes in menopause. And also how much candles suck. We
Yeah.
were talking about this on in a leader group the other day about how these studies have found these dark spots inside babies' noses. And they swabbed the nose and they found out that these dark spots were, in fact, the exact chemicals of the candle. So we think that we are, covering up the baby poop smell or, the wet dog smell or whatever mildew smell you have in your house. We're coating it with this candle. It's really just toxifying everything in our life. And the worst part, Mike, is that we're keeping it all enclosed.
Hmm.
So we're breathing it and regurgitating it again and again. So when you light that candle in 3 days' time, you're breathing that air from 3 days ago, from 5 months ago. The air inside our house, they say, is what, 10 times more toxic than the air outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge difference when you start thinking about what we're doing to our pets, what we're doing to our kids, our parents, our guests, our friends, and our spouses, and the most ourselves. We are toxifying our body. And, doTERRA has been on a mission, in the past couple months of teaching us about detoxifying our life, detoxifying our liver, being able to process out heavy metals, parasites, being able to process out all of these things that are basically caught up in our liver. And omegas, probiotics, and a really good cleanse process. That is all ways to help our body to flush out what it doesn't want in there anyway. And so
Yeah.
basically, I've been convicted to talk about omegas, to talk about, candles, how
Yeah.
much candles suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and that menopause changes everything.
Yeah.
So
Well,
these are real
and
conversations that I'm having at 50 years old.
well, and I think that so let me kind of go back on a couple of things here, and I think it's a great segue. But one is I love the idea of being real. It's not easy for some people. And to your point, I mean, people say sometimes they say things out of love, but it's received maybe or perceived that, you're offensive or whatever. And so you kind of tiptoe around it. And so naturally we don't want to do that. We don't want to offend people, especially our friends. Maybe it's a little bit
Mhm.
easier with a stranger, we're not trying to offend, but we just want to be real. But when we're not real, we're really kind of hurting people. You know what I mean? Because we're not telling them what we know. We're not sharing the information that we know. And so when we say things like candles suck, okay, fill in the blank, right? This sucks, that sucks, whatever. There's the nice thing is that there are great alternatives. Right. And one of the things you talked about with your friend is that you told her, look, I know it's a moment of vulnerability and you're very frustrated about what you guys were dealing with and having this conversation. And you were telling her this, not out of, hate or, disdain or whatever, but truly out of love because of the relationship, and saying that, look, candles suck. But here's the other thing. There are better alternatives that not only is a better alternative because it has less toxins, but it also has benefits, right? Other benefits,
Yes.
right? So maybe talk for just a
Yes.
minute about what that looks like and maybe what you use with your family.
Yeah. I found out, okay, so I'm a very utility kind of girl. And let me explain. I am an A to B type A person, okay? I want to go as fast as I can to that next major point. I do not want to go a roundabout. I want to be very direct. And when I talk about using a diffuser, you need to have it near a water source, you know? I have one right by my sink. I am an A to B kind of girl. I have
Mm-hmm.
found that when I give people diffusers, I want them to set it up right by their sink in their kitchen. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not dragging it across. It's very easy to just take the diffuser, open your open the spigot and just stick the
Yeah.
diffuser in there, and basically like take out the middleman of the cup that you need to go fill the diffuser. So when I'm diffusing, I want to put it near a water source and I want to make sure that I'm running it consistently. And if it's, a citrus oil to wake you up and perk you up in the morning, or if it's a flower, to help you to go to sleep at night and ease that tension that you've had throughout the day, those are places that you can really stand in. I love woods oils, you know. Um, Frankincense, black spruce is one of my favorites. I diffuse balance. I diffuse, Northern Escape. These are great, like woodsy kinds of oils that really help to ground you and help you to detoxify. And I think that it's like bringing the outdoors inside.
Yeah. Yeah. More natural stuff and the benefits. I mean, we just had, we're finishing up this month, but we've been talking about and promoting Serenity, dōTERRA's product Serenity, which for those that don't know, I mean, most people I think that are watching this kind of are aware that, we partner with dōTERRA as a health and wellness partner because of their amazing products and how pure they are and the benefits that they offer. And so we won't go into all of that right now, but I think the point is that one of those products is Serenity, and that helps with sleep and being calm and all that kind of stuff. And so people put these diffusers on their nightstands right by their bed. They're diffusing Serenity at night, and it helps them to sleep and stay calm. And we're not talking a coma. We're just talking about restful sleep, finally being able to get that restful sleep. And I think it's important, for people to understand, like we talked about, it's one thing to eliminate or reduce the amount of toxins in our life, right? By candle suck, replace it with something else that smells better, but also that there are these tremendous benefits that come from some of these products, right? Just like you're talking about balance or something that it can just smell good. It can be a woodsy smell. It can be something earth toned, whatever that looks like. So anyway, I think it's
Serenity,
fantastic.
I'm glad you bring that up, Mike, because Serenity was kind of my gateway. Lavender was my gateway. And then the moment that I found out that there was a blend of lavender with these woods oils, I immediately went to Serenity. And Serenity for me is a place of getting into a deep recovery sleep. I talk about like REM sleep, how important REM sleep. We are doing so much recovery at the end of the night, throughout our sleep, that when we get into that deeper REM sleep, we are really able to recover all of you know, the toxins that we process and all of the muscles that we break and build throughout the day. I've been in the health and wellness field. I've been a fitness teacher for going on 12 years now, and that it has been a change in my life to actually give my body this rest, this deep rest. Serenity is known as the oil of forgiveness.
Mm.
And if we're meant to forgive others, we've got to forgive ourselves first.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
starts with that deeper REM sleep, getting into that lavender and sandalwood, vetiver, those oils make a substantial difference, especially when you're smelling them 6 to 8 hours every night.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true. I mean, oftentimes we'll tell people just sleep on it. I mean, just like, because you have to make a decision, just sleep on it. Let your body just kind of like rest and relax, and then we'll talk about that later. But something else that came up, I'd like if we can shift gears, because you brought this up, and I think that it's worth bringing up because I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself an expert on this. I think that compared to me, you are absolutely an expert. But about aging, women and aging and those kinds of things. And I was having a conversation with my wife and some of my sisters and things the other day at a family party, and they were bringing up menopause. It's just that time of their life and what that looks like. Now, as a guy, a husband, and a father, and a dude, I mean, as much as I want to pretend I have any clue what this is like, I just don't. But I want to be sensitive to it, and I want to be able to help where I can if that's something that's needed. So I'd love for you to lean into on this a little bit, because this is what you found some passion around this, and I think that you've helped so many people. Talk a little bit about what that is like for women and what things you're doing to try and help with that.
So when you look at your estrogen throughout your life as a woman, it really starts to decline in your mid 30s, and it starts to wane off, and then in your 40s coming into your 50s, you actually start to have this drastic like cliff. And I didn't realize that until I started seeing it in my mood, right? Until I
Mm.
started seeing it, I didn't feel right. I was feeling very irritated. Everything was starting to tee me off. I have a teenager, I have a cat, I have a husband that I've been with for 26 years. Those little tiny irks were basically,
Like exacerbated, just like
yes,
totally enhanced. Yeah,
completely
yeah, yeah.
taken to another level. And I didn't realize it until looking back that yes, my hair was changing and my skin was starting to get creepy and eyesight was starting to go. And I didn't think about the irritability, the mood swings that we go through. We just think we're going from hot to cold and hot flashes. All those are indicators. What really started to make sense to me is when I started to look at how irritated I had become.
Mm.
And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm going through midlife crisis. It is menopause. It is looking at your estrogen levels. And, when I came back from, uh, we'd been living in Hawaii through 2020. I came back in 2021 and I started getting my levels checked. At that point, I was 46, 47 years old. And every 6 months, I'd go in and I'd check my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. I check my thyroid balance, my free TSH. I check all these markers so I could start to get a picture of where I was, kind of a benchmark. And over the last 3 months, since I turned 50, I've seen a drastic shift. And that's really brought me to teaching about supplements and health, in general, diet, that we can actually start to make a difference. I've started weight training more and more. I've incorporated weights into my yoga classes, so I'm doing warrior sculpt classes and really getting into those deeper muscle groups, holding those chair postures, being able to, raise and lift your leg and turn your toes side to side, being able to really engage that lower belly, because you do start to see that accumulation of fat right around the midsection and into the hips when you start to get those estrogen shifts. And it can be highs and lows, To go back to your point though, the estrogen affects everything. It affects your weight, your mood, your blood sugar. It affects your sleep. It affects your cravings. And so finding out how you can actually start to affect your estrogen naturally, that has really been a game changer for me.
Mm. Interesting.
Mhm.
I mean, are you, so, I mean, we talked about this partnership that we have with dōTERRA. You are a fantastic builder with your team. You're focused on these products as well. Have you found certain products that have worked well, that you found that work well, not only for you, but others?
Yeah. Yeah. You've really got to be back on the omegas. You've got to be, having a great probiotic throughout the night. Phytoestrogen has made a huge difference in my body. Phytoestrogen is a naturally occurring plant-based estrogen. It is not a xenoestrogen. It is a plant-based phytoestrogen. That supplement has made a huge difference. We have a bone nutrient that is so far and away superior to anything on the market. And it really does help with vision, with eyesight, with bone density, with hair growth. I've really been a big fan of balancing hormones through the phytoestrogen and the bone nutrient. We're unlocking ways. You can balance about 12 different hormone levels with the phytoestrogen. You can balance almost 30 different hormone levels
Mm.
with the phytoestrogen and the bone nutrient together. So moving into using those as a platform, I can tell you, Mike, that the biggest difference for me has been the collagen. That that MetaPWR Advantage has been a game changer for
Mm.
my skin, for my neck, for my hair. I mean, I've been getting so many compliments, people coming up to feel my face, to feel my arms, and I know it's the glow from within. That
Yeah.
NAD plus, that is a real difference maker in the collagen. When you have 9 different types of marine collagen in your body, there's no other collagen on the market that is actually going to give you that super, like, tripeptide, 70% tripeptide mix. We think about these long train peptides, and peptides are a big key word, in how we're aging. When you have a tripeptide, it's actually a smaller amino acid, and your body absorbs it so much faster and uses it so much better. We
Mm.
talk about the absorbability and the bioavailability in our body. that is a key thing with the Advantage collagen from doTERRA. That collagen has made my skin glow.
Mm,
It has helped to strengthen the actual skin, the skin depth. It's helped my eyebrows, my eyelashes, my hair. It has made a huge difference in my knees and my joints.
mm. That's
Such a
amazing.
big believer in the collagen.
Well, and I mean, we focus on as much about lifestyle, and you talked about this, like working out and your yoga classes and those kinds of things. So, I mean, we're not always just trying to pump people full of supplements and products and whatever, although they definitely are a help. And so we believe, at least with Live Great and the things that we talk about here, that lifestyle plays a big part in that. Like you eat a big old meal, go for a walk after. You know what I mean? Don't just sit around and jump on the couch and then just like do nothing. So, and so as that relates to, the lifestyle side of this particular situation for women, do you find that's part of that, like being active, your body being active, and then proper supplementation? Is that part of that too? I'm assuming.
It absolutely. I mean, when you think about the whole body, the mind, what you see, what you consume, how you feel about certain things, if you have remorse or regret, all of that stuff starts to build into your life. And being able to process those emotions, being able to be stronger within your body, it really is it's a body mind connection. I've
Yeah.
been drawn to yoga for a long time, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. Um, I I became a yoga teacher. I had a corporate life for many years, 16 years. Um, and I came to yoga, a long time ago when I was really overweight. I was about 100 pounds heavier than I was right now,
Mm,
and I started to eat more mindfully and to lift weights and to pump up my heart. And I met Jack, and my weight started to shift and my mind started to shift. When I left the corporate life, I really started to get into why I was struggling so much. And it was my mom's passing. She died so suddenly, and she died from an insulin overdose. It was
mm,
because she had led a sedentary life and her sugar levels were completely spent. She was in insulin resistance. She'd used all the insulin naturally in her body, and now her doctor had scared the crap out of her enough that where she was injecting insulin into her body.
mm.
And so my mom is, I mean, as she was my best friend. She was in my house every day. She was helping me raise my daughter. She was our granny nanny, and she dropped dead.
Mm.
And it really brings brings it full circle for me talking about that and realizing that, even last night we taught a class on blood sugar and menopause and how much blood sugar can be, I guess, manipulated when you know what you're doing. You know you're about to eat. So why don't you take something natural that helps that blood sugar spike to
Hmm.
lower by
That helps to
50%?
normalize it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That the MetaPWR Assist has been a really big change for me. Being able to be mindful about, okay, I'm about to have, a bunch of Mexican food. I'm about to
Yeah.
have,
Which I
corn
love,
chips.
which
I
we
love
all love.
Mexican food.
Yeah.
I love Italian food. Those are both saturated with with things that are going to spike your blood sugar. So you know what you're doing. You know that you're getting ready to sit down. So why don't you just take a supplement 15 minutes before you eat and help your body to take that blood sugar spike down by half. That's what that MetaPWR Assist really does for me. And I carry it with me in my purse all the time. I refill it every other week, and I always have those. I offer them to my friends, and I explain to them the benefits of being, I guess, conscious of what you're going to consume, responsible, and actually being proactive. 15
Mm.
minutes before you eat, 10 minutes before you eat, 5 minutes before you eat, whatever time frame you actually recall or remember. When you sit down to order food at a restaurant, it's probably going to be your heaviest meal. So why don't you just take that assist when they serve the water and get
Mm.
into that habit?
Right.
We were talking the other day about Atomic Habits. It's a really popular book. They talk about habit stacking. So yes, you're going to go to a restaurant. You're going to go to a restaurant. They're going to put that water down. What's the first thing that you're going to do, right? You're going to
Hmm.
take that MetaPWR Assist to help with that blood sugar spike, to take that insulin spike down by half. That's a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm, by the way, I am a creature of habit. If in fact, I've said this many times, like if I get out of a routine, like I don't brush my teeth because I'm so, it's so habitual, I have to get into that. So I love this idea of habit stacking. I love that book, by the way, Atomic Habits. And the idea, of course, is that something triggers something, this triggers this triggers this. So you get into that sort of routine and it helps. But I wanted to just touch on it, and I know that you've got some things you've got to get to, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I definitely want to talk about one last thing with you, and then any final thoughts you might have about this idea of the difference between lifespan and health span. And when we talk about lifespan, for some people are very aware of what this means, but others don't. Lifespan, hey, look, let's just say we're going to live to be 80 years old. Let's just say, no, let's say 100. We're going to live to be 100 years old. Okay, let's be optimistic. But the idea is the quality of life. You have people who might live to be 100, but they can't. They're in a wheelchair. They're bedridden. They're whatever. You know what I mean? It's just this. Their health is just really, really declined. Versus the idea of health span being that they might live to 100, but they're active all the way up until the day they pretty much die. You know what I mean? That's what we want. It may be the same age that we pass away, but we want to live life as much as we can to its fullest without all the disease, the challenges, the physical ailments, whatever that looks like. So I love your kind of take on and final thoughts about this idea of why it's important for us to take care of our bodies now, you know what I mean? Lifespan, health span. And then other thoughts that you might have as we get into this, I would call sugar season and, and the traditions of, especially in the US, right? We have Thanksgiving and we have Christmas time and we have just different holidays and whatever it is that you celebrate. I mean, what are the things that we need to be paying attention to and what can we do following that?
It has to be the foundation of wellness. People think that they're taking this multivitamin, this capsule, from Costco. They got a great deal on it. Your body's only absorbing about 6% of that Costco vitamin. So being able to absorb 96% of a real vitamin, right? Our VMG is a foundational wellness. That's going to give you like joint support when you talk about lubrication of your major joints. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to give you energy because your body is actually receiving something in its most natural form. We need magnesium. We need ways to actually start to take down inflammation. One of the reasons that I'm a big believer with doTERRA is they infuse their essential oils, which are pure, right? Because they test them independently over 60 different times, 60 different times.
So many. Yeah.
Uh, you know that you're getting those essential oils in every supplement. That makes a huge difference. There's no other company that can provide the purity, the tested grade oils that doTERRA does. And then they have so much wisdom to put them in to all of the supplements.
Mm.
So being able to take that omega that has wild orange is great for menopause. It's great for blood pressure. Being able to take a probiotic that actually is going to get through the stomach acid because it's microencapsulated and get into that lower colon where it actually has the prebiotic to attach
Mm-hmm.
to all of those phalanges in your gut. These are like targeted smart solutions to increase our health span. My dad is 86 and he is a NASA engineer, retired NASA engineer. He is living his best life because he is aware of his weight training. He swims one day and then
Mm.
he bikes the next day. He's given up the running. He doesn't want that kind of high impact anymore. He's really conscious about what he eats. He makes sure that he has VMG in the morning, that he has, omegas and probiotics at night. He's really conscious throughout the day because he's more aware because he's at the end of his lifespan.
Yeah.
And so health span becomes a really big priority. So when you're walking through it with your parents, you start to really uncover, how it's pertinent right now to take a hold and to really get that foundational supplementation there that has the oils in there. When you're taking frankincense every day, frankincense is so good for inflammation. It's great for eyesight. It's great for joint health. It's great for immune support. So many different ways that you can get real supplements that actually get absorbed. So bioavailability, really important for increasing your lifespan through your health, and then also being able to have targeted support, meaning if you're stressed out, go to doTERRA's adaptive. If you had crummy sleep for the longest time like me, I rely on Serenity. If you're struggling with a teenager, I have a teenage daughter, and I use the probiotics with her because her gut is her second brain. I know that she's not getting enough foundational nutrition in her teenage diet. I know that she's processing a lot of preservatives and colors just by stuff that she eats around that when she's out of the house. Fast food is a real thing for teenagers. It was for us too. So,
Hmm.
you can't just deny the fact that it's going to happen. You need to be prepared for how to offset. So having great probiotics, I have my daughter roll the Intune roller, the focus roller, all over her temples and the back of her neck before she leaves for school and when she comes home. Being able to give her great omegas that help her body to process um, the toxins that she's receiving, and then also to help her joints to lubricate. She's an athlete. So I give her foundational wellness. I give my dad foundational wellness. My husband, everyone in our house is benefiting because we have that clarity of, okay, so we're going to live to 90, 95. How's that going to look? Are you going to drop dead like my mom, like my next door neighbor? Are you going to poison yourself with candles like my college bestie? What is that really going to look like? And are we actually going to, make a difference in other people's lives? Once you have this information, are you going to share it?
Yeah.
You know, it takes a strong voice. It takes someone that takes action. And a lot of us are too busy scroll holing, binging our shows to watch, to actually reach out and help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a really life-changing week. Having those critical conversations, that comfortable stuff that people, put off because they don't want to shake this fragile ground. You and I were talking that Jeff Olson wrote this incredible book, The Slight Edge, and it's doing just a little bit every day that makes a profound difference in your life in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And that goes on to, what we were talking about, the health span of your life. And he talks about if there is a rainstorm during your funeral, 90% of your friends and family will peel off from your actual gravesite burial, right?
Because of the rain, just because it's raining. Yeah.
Just because it's raining. We put so much emphasis on what other people think. Oh, I don't want to be offensive. Oh, they didn't ask me. We want to compartmentalize so we don't risk, so we don't get hurt, so we don't get rejected. When really, those people in our lives, once you're gone, they're not going to even bury you if it rains.
Yeah.
Like we spend so much time being consumed by our ego. And we talked about like ego is really edging God out. It's EGO, edging God out. It's getting in the way of what's really on your heart. Mel Robbins at our convention, just last month was talking about how that first thing that comes to your heart, the first thing that comes to your soul, that is your true intention. And then our amygdala takes that comfort level and tries to protect us. So when you're like, oh, I need to call such and such.
Hmm.
Oh, I need to share this. Oh, they need to know this. That is your truest intention. That's your heart really singing. And then what we do is we try to protect ourselves with this fear instead of moving into the space of love Fear is the opposite of love. So when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to share this. Oh my gosh, this would help so much. That is your truest heart. That is your intention. And then the fear comes in 5 seconds later. So Mel Robbins teaches us, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. Act on that initial action. Do not let that moment pass where you do not reach out, where you soften your voice. Be out there, say it. It makes a difference. It really, truly can change someone's life. If I had had this knowledge, I really feel like I could have saved my mom's life.
Mm.
I really think that she would have been such a natural with these oils. She was giving me oregano oil as a kid, you know? And I realize now that I have a voice. I have so much knowledge to share. And at 50 years old, if I'm not going to use it now, what am I waiting for? Am I
Yeah.
waiting to, oh, the time's right, or they're finally open?
Yeah.
Just share it. Get out of your own way and share it.
I feel
And
like
let
let
them
them. Yeah.
decide what they
Yeah.
do with it.
Yeah. Let them. That's another one of those Mel Robbins things that were amazing. I first of all, I just want to say thank you for doing this, because I know that you're very busy. You have a lot going on. You've got family and all these things, but I love this maybe final thought here, which is that, not just if you've been given this information, right? Sometimes we hear this saying of, where much is given, much is required, and you've been given, you have learned so much, and so I mean, it's almost like I feel like there's an obligation to teach other people, because if everybody were to go back and think through their life of the different people that they've been able to maybe influence or not, or that they maybe could have influenced or helped in some way, how many people should we have opened up to, been real and open and honest with in our lifetime, where we're like, look, I knew something, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to offend, or I had a thought to share with somebody, but I just didn't want to do it because I didn't want to insert myself. It was not my business or whatever. And the reality is that most people that want to reach out and say something, it's because they care about someone. It's because they care about the situation. They care about the person, whether that's, health or relationships or whatever, that it's like, look, we have something to offer. You and I now know something, and I have an obligation to share and teach however we can. And some people are really good at it. Some people are not. Some people are more diplomatic about it, and that's okay. There's different ways of going about it. But I feel like that what you said is so important, and I'm excited to get this out there for not only the team, our team, but everybody that has. And we're going to break this up, because I feel like you have given so much great information about different factors. So we're gonna get into it. But anyway, thank you again. Thanks for taking the time to be with us and to do this. And any other final thoughts?
I really believe that you've been such a great addition to our team, Mike. You bring this clarity, you bring knowledge, and you bring this awareness to all of us, that we can actually, stand on our own platform and be our own specialist, heal our bodies, heal ourselves, heal our families, and then heal the people that are closest to us. So thank you, Mike.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.